All right, law school Q&A number 1. Y'all were amazing and left so many comments on my first video about law school, so let's jump right into it. Question 1 from Brooke Thornton. I know that an undergraduate degree isn't super important for going into law school, but what are some majors you would recommend for a bachelor's degree that might be helpful for future law students? Really, I recommend whatever it is you're passionate about. Unlike medical school, law school has no prerequisites. You can study it whatever it is you like. I myself was a political science major, but I know attorneys who were everything from engineers to environmental study majors. It doesn't necessarily matter. This is my advice to you. If you have a passion for something that you can study in undergrad, study it, and then apply those certain skills that you learned in undergrad to your law degree. Now, a word of warning. If you want to be an intellectual property attorney, you do need a bachelor's of science. For instance, I cannot become a patent attorney because I have a Bachelor of Arts. So if you're interested in becoming a patent lawyer, that is something to consider. Next question from Chloe. When do you start to specialize in the kind of law you would like to practice? How important is it to pick a school based on the kind of law you might want to practice? So you don't have to specialize in law school. In fact, you don't specialize in law school. Law school will teach you everything. And generally the rule of thumb is it takes your first few years of practicing law to figure out what you do and don't want to do. And that kind of goes into your second question. You don't really pick a law school based on the kind of law you want to practice, with some very, very small exceptions. Next question from Jason. Tom, is it possible to go to law school as a working parent and still complete it in 2 to 4 years? So Jason, the short answer to your question is yes. I went to law school with a bunch of people who worked full time. Now, they did probably take longer to graduate, and instead of graduating in 3 years, they graduated in 4 years because they were working and going to school part-time, but it certainly is possible. Next question from Albert. Can you please talk about the LSAT and applying to law school? So Albert, here are my thoughts on the LSAT. It's all about pressure and time conditions. I know a lot of people who study for the LSAT, but when they're studying, they don't practice under the game time conditions. Anybody can get every single question right if you're given unlimited time. So when you're studying, make sure you are timing yourself and you're practicing. It is truly an art and a skill to identify a question you don't know, guess an answer, and move on and forget about it. Because if you stay and fixate on a question for too long, you could hurt other questions towards the end of the test that you could have easily gotten. Those are my thoughts on the LSAT. With respect to applying for law school, just be yourself. While I'm no expert on law school admissions, I get the feeling that a lot of applications are identical. You know, they say the same cookie cutter stuff that people think law schools want to hear. They want to see who you are as a person, so make sure your application reflects that. The last question from Sway. How long do you have to go to school? What are the wages for being a lawyer? What are the different types of lawyers? So Sway, let's take this one piece at a time. How long do you have to go to school? Law school is typically 3 years. However, it is possible to graduate sooner. I graduated in 2.5 years, or you can go part-time, and it takes roughly 4 years if you do that. What are the wages for being a lawyer? That varies drastically based on the type of law you want to practice. Fancy white-collar law firms offer first-year associates salaries upwards of $200,000 a year. However, those jobs are obviously very hard to get, and the work-life balance isn't very great. On the flip side, I know first-year attorneys who are making $50,000 to $60,000 a year. Now, the great thing about being a lawyer is that the earning potential is always there. So just because you're starting out on a first-year associate job that pays $50,000 or $60,000 a year doesn't mean you can't work your way up to a very high-paying job. And the last part of your question, what types of lawyers are there? We could go on for hours talking about that. But in reality, there's two main types of lawyers. There's transactional lawyers and there's litigation lawyers. Transactional lawyers are the people who write contracts, review contracts, negotiate deals. Litigation lawyers are the people who file lawsuits and have to go and try cases, stuff like that. And then once you find your footing in the transactional or litigation areas of practice, you can really start to niche down. For instance, I myself am a catastrophic personal injury attorney. I represent hurt individuals against the people that hurt them. But I could just as easily be a criminal defense lawyer, or a family law lawyer, or a probate lawyer, or a contract lawyer, or a real estate lawyer. The list goes on and on and on and on. So whatever type of niche you can think of, there's probably a lawyer for that. Okay, everybody, that's it for today's video. Again, this is going to be a recurring segment, so please ask me your questions in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to get to them. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope this helps. And make sure you like and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content. Thanks.